Great. Well, thank you, Georgia. Great to see you again. Thanks for jumping on. How you been this year, I guess? How's 2026 treating you?
Good. It's good. It's busy. You're most welcome. I'm really looking forward to our chat. How are
Good,
you?
good, good. I'm good. I mean, the new year has started and we're somehow, it's mid-Jan. Seemed like yesterday that, it
I
was
know.
Christmas. But it's time to crack on and it's
Yes, it is.
time to pick your brain
Mm,
on sort of what coaches, creators can be doing as we sort of scale into 2026. But
mhm,
before we sort of obviously get into more actionable things,
mhm.
tell us a bit more about yourself. How did you transition or did you transition? Did you start always online? What's the backstory?
So I'm an ex-professional dancer, which when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, that makes sense as to why you're so outgoing." But I've danced all my life. I started dancing at the age of 2. I then left conventional education and moved to a vocational dance school at the age of 16. At 18, I then went to LA and I started dancing in Los Angeles. And then I've been all over the world dancing for various different companies, different shows. And then I got injured and I hurt my back really badly. Yeah, I know. And because of that, obviously I didn't go to university, so I didn't have a degree. I left school at 16, so I've just got GCSEs. Like I was like, what on earth am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? Was on universal credit, kind of just like living at my mum's, and I decided to start a skincare brand. Now, the backstory of the skincare brand was I really suffered with my own skin, started to blend together natural ingredients, etc., etc. Worked for me, was like, right, I'm going to set up a Shopify account. Had no idea about branding and marketing, no idea about anything really. I just thought, I've got this product, it works. Let me get some labels, bang it on Shopify, get on Instagram, and see if anyone buys it. Now, what was really interesting was for like about 2 months, nobody bought the product. But the first sale came from the US. Now, that's when my mind was like, hang on a sec, like this internet thing, this social media thing, you can reach anywhere in the world and you can sell anything. Like, someone's bought these creams that I blended up in my mum's kitchen in America. That's wild. So I began to upskill, as they say,
Hmm.
and was like, okay, if I'm going to take this seriously, let me learn what I need to learn. So built that into a profitable skincare brand, and I'm not involved in it. It's called Bear, and then I decided to start a community. Now, off the
Sorry,
back of
sorry,
that,
hang on. Can I just jump in? Because so the
yeah,
first business you did, you scaled it, and now obviously it's still because I
yes,
mean most people, most entrepreneurs anyway,
uh huh,
fail, 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 fail,
yeah,
cry, fail, fail, then potentially
yeah,
have that success. So you sort of had that success straight away. Amazing. I guess one
yeah.
question just on the upskilling.
Mm,
What did you do? Did you get a coach? Did you go into
yes.
courses?
Yeah, I got a coach. Couldn't afford a coach. So here's the interesting part, which is how I now run my business. Um, so got a coach. His name was Andy Ramwell, and I was like to him, "Look, got no money. Don't have a clue what I'm doing. The business is making money, but at that point, it was very much bringing in money. I was spending loads on like ads, throwing whatever at a wall to see what stuck. Right, so I had no actual liquid cash in the business. I didn't have any money personally, so I was really upfront and I was like, "Look, I'm broke. I've got something. It's got legs. I know it's got legs. Will you help me?" He's from Manchester, northern guy. And he was like, "Look, I'll coach you for free as long as you pay it forwards. When you make it, you pay it forward." So I was like, I'm never going to make it first off, but okay. Yeah, I had a coach and he was massive on like projecting, like thinking forwards. So I was very much in the moment. I was thinking about what I could see, and he would look at the numbers and be like, okay, so have you looked at warehouse space? Because in about 3/4 time, you're not going to be able to be making the products out of your mum's kitchen, Georgia. Um, he would think about, like, we had a ad campaign on ITVB, and I was so excited about the ad campaign that I didn't think about, okay, what's going to happen after that in terms of orders? Are you going to be able to fulfill? We did a partnership with Sweatcoin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did a partnership with them. And that went horribly wrong because I didn't forecast for just how many users they have and how many orders are going to come through. So he was very good at making me like stop and think forwards instead of thinking about the present day. He's amazing. So yeah, I mean, off the back of there, I realized that business is quite lonely, and this is how I got into coaching. But I didn't anticipate becoming a coach. I didn't want to become a coach necessarily. It just happened. So I started this community. This was 3 Januaries ago. I invited 50 women on Instagram to come to dinner. People that I wanted to connect with, other people that had businesses. Like I was like, I just want to meet some more women in business. I didn't have anyone in my circle. Everyone was like dancing or singing or like in the arts. These 50 women showed up and I kind of told my story like I am now. And a few of them were like, oh my God, like, can you teach me how you did that? And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I can. Charging £20 an hour, Ben, £20 an hour for people to just like log in on Zoom, ask me their questions. Like some people would be like, oh, can you help me set up as a limited company? And I'm like, yeah, well, I know how to do that. Some people would be like, can you help me trademark? Yeah, I know how to do that. Can you give me a marketing strategy? Can you talk me through? And it just kind of grew and grew and grew and grew to the point where I was getting people results, word was spreading, and then all of a sudden I kind of had this coaching business, right? And it was online. I was in my spare bedroom at home, and I kind of sat back and was like, Georgia, you're really good at this, but you've only got so many hours in a day, so you're going to bottleneck at some point. How can you turn this into a viable business model, right? And the arm that I kind of touched upon but was like, I don't feel like I have enough skill in, and I want someone who they specialised in, was marketing. So a lot of people would come to me and they'd be like, it got to the point where I wasn't getting the questions of like, how do I go like register my business or whatever. I was getting questions of like, okay, I'm hitting £8,000 and I want to hit £6,000 a month. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But at that point, everything sort of adds up, doesn't it? Like it's a circle. So like, okay, we can work on the growth strategies and the systems and operations and your team and whatnot. But then, does your marketing marry up? What's your brand positioning? Is your messaging right? So I kind of brought on a marketing division under the coaching business. And that the content creation days, marketing strategies, full social media management, paid ads. Like, so now it's kind of like a 360 business coaching and consultancy, marketing, and then have us overhaul your business and do it all. So that's a whistle stop tour.
No, amazing. So would clients mostly come in, or do they come in from all different channels then? Some are looking for coaching, some are looking for marketing.
Yeah. Like some people are like, I just want to work with Georgia. Like I've got a team already that does my social media in-house. I just want to work with Georgia on increasing my revenue or leadership or operations. Like, okay, the back end is an absolute mess. Can you help me tighten it up? Some people come in just for marketing. And then some people are like, hey, look, I want to work with you and I also need marketing help. What does that look like?
Brilliant. So you've got both angles. Yeah, love that. And so I guess as per the podcast is called Clicked, as in when did it all, in your head come together? What was that moment that you thought, yeah, there's something here. This is the, Georgia Jasmine consultancy. It's here. When was that moment for you, do you think?
So I am not massive on like external validation, but I feel like in this space, I kind of needed it because I didn't go on a course to become a business coach. Like everything I've done is just naturally.
You ran a business.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of was like, am I underqualified to be doing this? Like, should I be doing this? But it was when I got an email from EHP Labs and Superdrug, and they were like, we're holding this event. We want you to come and talk about like business productivity, how to be the most aligned version of yourself, like how do you run a business, all this stuff. And I sat and I looked at the email and I was like, hang on a sec, like those are two very big brands and they trust me to come and deliver this information alongside two very reputable names. And I think that was the moment that it clicked in my head that, Georgie, you're doing it. You're doing it, so just
you're living it.
Let it happen, as opposed to second guessing whether you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I would say, yeah, that's the moment that it all clicked. And also bringing on my team. I mean, I say it time and time again, you're only as strong as your team, and they're incredible and amazing. And sometimes I come into the office and I look at them and I'm just like, how on earth did this happen? Like, how did this happen?
Well, it has, and you're doing it and you're growing it and scaling it, which is awesome. And I love the content, by the way. And so how does it work with, now coaching? You mentioned the £20 an hour, but what's coaching with you like now? Is it frameworks? Do they still get to have calls with you? Because a lot of coaches and creators listening will be thinking, I want to be where Georgia is. Like, how does that happen? Not necessarily in the same path, but, how does your business online and with coaching work now?
So we have two different angles. We've got the business coaching and the business consultancy. So the business coaching, like, I'll sit down on a call similar to like what we're on now. We'll have like 2 calls a month. And I'll meet you where you're at. So where are you at currently and where are you trying to go? And then I'll create a bit of a plan and walk you through that plan in a methodical way that feels aligned to the person that I'm speaking to. Everybody learns differently. I've got some clients that I can throw a load of strategy at them and they're like, yeah, implement, go. And I've got some clients that need it like bite-sized over a course of months. And then we've got the business consultancy side of it, which is actually the part that I really enjoy. So that's more done for you work. Like, I'm in it with you. It's a lot more high touch. And I find that the brands that come in to that division, say, are generating serious cash. So with 7 figures, like late 6 figures, and they're looking for that like strategic guidance. They're looking for the person who can take them further
to the next.
And that's normally in person. So I spend a lot of time traveling and having those sessions, meeting the client at their head office and whatnot, or sometimes they come to us. But coaching, a lot of coaches will be like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have a really stringent framework that I'm going to teach everybody. And I just find that doesn't work, especially for early stage founders. Like, you really have to be malleable and listen to the person that's in front of you, listen to what they want, not what you think is best, and take them there. And also sometimes you really need to manage expectations, because the internet is the worst for making people think that they can make 6 figures overnight, and that just simply does not happen, right? So sometimes I get people who come to me who are like, right, okay, Georgia, I'm earning like £3,000 a month and I'm wanting to get to 10k, like, oh, can that happen in the next month or so? And I'm like, okay, have you got, number one, what's your capacity? Can you actually physically make £10,000 a month with what you're doing without bringing on somebody else? And number two, what's your marketing spend like? Like, what's your budget? Can you throw a load at Meta ads, or are you doing this all organically? Because if you're doing it organically, it's going to take you a lot longer, right? So it's managing expectations. And a lot of the things that I learned by making mistakes, like throwing loads of money at Meta ads and not really knowing how they work, I try and have my clients avoid those mistakes that I made. So it's like, I always say, you want to learn from someone who's actually been on the field playing the game, like who's like got the broken leg, got the red card. Like, you want to learn from someone who's been in it. You don't want to learn from someone who's like sat on the sidelines and gone on a business course and is now like, oh, I'm a business coach.
It's telling you, yeah, exactly how to run a business, but never run a business. But so with meta
Exactly.
ads, I mean, that's one for sure. You know, so many people just launch an ad suddenly at £10 a day, and let's just hope that the
Fingers
customers come
crossed.
in. What's your big take for meta ads? Just if you had to like sum up, you know, hot take on someone that's getting started with meta ads, what would it be? Like just the quick sort of summary.
Mm. I strongly believe organic, 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 organic. If your marketing and your content is on point, you will build like a cult like following. Like people will be behind you like every step of the way. I think if you're going to use meta ads, it has to be really, really strategic. So if we're looking at two different types of businesses, your service based and your product based, product, you can. If you've got some, I would always say, if you don't know how ads work, invest your money in somebody who does know how ads work, because you will waste so much money trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So if you're running a product based business, yeah, like go get an ads manager. Service based business, educate. Like how I started online is not the same kind of content that I push out now. Now that I've built up the credibility, I can add humor and I can let my team lead. I started with education, getting on Instagram and TikTok every single day and giving a nugget. And those nuggets over time, it's the compounding effect. Like someone may have to see you like 7 or 8 times to be like, actually, I'm actually listening to what she's saying now. Like I kind of trust her. Let me book in a call. I wouldn't say jump straight into meta ads as a coach or a service-based business. Allow your knowledge to do the talking. It can work. And then once you get to that 10K mark and you've got room to play about, then go into ads. But I
Then
think
go
far
into
too
it.
many
Yeah,
people
that's
it's a quick.
no. I mean, that's super helpful. I think what's really interesting, especially with with what we do here at Click, obviously we have coaches come on, right? Is that
Yeah.
some of the coaches we speak to have got amazing in-person businesses. You know, some of them charging thousands a month, and they're so knowledgeable about a certain topic, whether it be burnout, leadership, just C-suite coaching. But when we then talk about content, they suddenly have a content block,
Mm-hmm.
which is super interesting. So you mentioned putting out educational content. Is there anything how do you continuously get the topics, let's say, the content ideas? How do you personally do that with your busy schedule and running businesses? What's the secret?
I honestly think it's conversations that you've had and lived experience. So for me, you're sat any coach, you're sat on calls all day, right? You're sat on calls all day and you're hearing different scenarios, you're hearing different struggles, you're hearing different wins. Throughout my day, I will be thinking, oh, that would make a really good piece of content. That would make a really good piece of or I'm looking back on my lived experience. It could be a conversation that I've had with a team member, and I'm like, actually, I've been through that. Let me speak on it. Instead of thinking outside of yourself and trying to think of these hypothetical situations, you've got the content in front of you day in, day out. Use it. Like, I think what happens is people, yeah, they think outside of themselves. They think like, okay, hypothetically, what could I talk about? And it's like, but you're dealing with this every single day, so just use little snippets of it and turn it into lessons and series and
Yeah, I love
whatnot.
that.
Content is such a hard one, isn't it? Like you have got to be consistent and you have got to show up, and it's that magic word, consistency. But also getting creative with it. So I also think that a lot of coaches sit in their own bubble. So they sit in whether they're working from home or they've got an office space, they sit in that bubble and they don't kind of deviate outside of that. And I am a big believer of like, get out there and talk to people. Like, go do a mini mic on the street. Go to your local businesses and ask them questions about topics that you cover. Go into your local gym if you're a fitness coach and ask people in there, like, how long has it took you to lose 7 pounds or whatever? Or like, what's your like love and hate about the fitness industry? I don't know, but like, get outside of this box that you've put yourself in and think like a brand. That's what brands do. Like, brands go out and talk, they like conversate, they put the word out outside of the business. But with coaches, they just look at, okay, I'm a coach and I need to talk to people online. No, talk to people.
Talk to humans. Yeah, actually, yeah, I love that. I definitely feel, and I mentioned this on a different show, that just different environments. Anytime I would be flying with the business, going somewhere else, you just, when you're in that new environment, that new energy, that new air, it's revitalizing, and you can start to, I guess, reset, not necessarily rewire. But that's super interesting. And I guess, so on content, you've been there, you've done it. You know, was there a secret recipe of, I need to do 3 posts a day? Do I need to do 5 a day? Do I need to do, what did you find?
I found sticking to one channel, right? So I have TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn. And when I first started, I was like, I need to be showing up once a day across all of them. It's just simply not viable. Like, if you're on your own, you're not going to do that, right? Unless you've got all the time in the world and you've got no clients, you're not going to be able to show up across 3 different platforms consistently the same amount of content, right? So I was like, I'm focusing on Instagram, and then TikTok is my secondary. I'll repurpose on that. And if I've got time, I'll make fresh content, right? And LinkedIn, I mean, I could be so much better on LinkedIn. I don't, I have kind of like a love-hate relationship with it. I think it's very salesy. And then I think it's salesy, but then I think it's cliche human. So you've either got the people on there who are like, making everything a metaphor and a you know, story time out of everything, or you've got the people who are like sell. So on Instagram, I would show up one day and I would show up with like a high quality nugget, like something that I know my target audience would be struggling with, whether it's like how to convert followers into paying clients, or if you're bottlenecking, because I've bottlenecked, right? If you're bottlenecking, here's the things that you need to do. So showing up with things that I know people are struggling with once a day, and being very visible on stories. Like, I am such a firm believer that if you're not showing up daily on stories, your days didn't happen, right? So if you've got a day back to back of clients, show that. It's building like proof of concept. People are going to start to trust you because they can see that other people trust you. But yeah, I mean, I know people that say like 3 times a day on Instagram. I personally just think that's too much, and I don't think you need to. But it does work, right? So it's up to your schedule and what you think you can manage in terms of like your mental bandwidth, because we've got to remember social media does drain you. I find if I'm scrolling, like I suddenly feel so tired. It's because you're scrolling and you're just taking in so much information. So it's what works for the individual.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trouble is with coaches or just entrepreneurs at the end of the day, you know, they are entrepreneurs. They're running their business and having to do sort of that right side of the brain, which is all, how am I thinking about margins? How am I going to scale this? And then that creativity side of things is obviously the different side of the brain. And so I find it as well. I struggle with this massively, trying to switch across to then get into creativity mode. I think the best founders for sure are able to do that, or have given themselves the bandwidth to do that. Obviously, they have probably teams, but I think that's one thing. And it's interesting that two massive nuggets there, you know, education, which they can do easily, and stories. You know, we definitely don't, or I definitely don't do enough with stories. Amazing. So what about AI then? Talking about content, how is AI going to come in? Where do you see it coming in?
If I'm so honest, like, I think AI is a great tool to enhance, but I don't think that it should replace that human connection that you get with content. I actually think that in 2026, 2027 and beyond, we're going to start to see a rise of like this like anti-AI content. So like really, really human content, which is kind of what we've led into, like really being human, being super authentic, super raw, like kind of ugly angles, like not putting the camera in a place that you would expect it to be, like that proof that this is made by a human. I'm not anti-AI, don't get me wrong. I do think it has its place, but I think when it comes to content, like people crave authenticity, they crave human connection. So I personally don't think content wise, even when it comes to like editing your content, when you throw your content in an AI app, it's going to look the same as everybody else who's throwing their content into an AI app. Like you can tell it's not being like edited by somebody who's thinking creatively. So I don't know. I kind of got a love-hate relationship with AI.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think some of the tools are amazing. It's just moving so fast. And I think, we're actually going to start doing some workshops for coaches on the basics of AI, like what tools can you use?
Yeah,
How can you,
yeah.
not just use ChatGPT, but how can you actually use other um, platforms? But I think you're right. It's super interesting how the new video AI looks, because it does look super, like real. But how do you get that human part, I guess, that people want to interact with? You can tell, I think, still for a certain degree. Um, yeah. And so, question on team. You mentioned that you're as good as your team. A lot of the coaches that start off, or content creators, are solo. What would you say is the process? Is it, and I don't want to sort of put words in your mouth, but is it that start looking at team tools that help with that? Is it that you get maybe a VA? What's the thing that you would say to someone that hasn't got that much money but really is trying to scale their business?
I would say look at what is actually going to move the needle forward. So, like, your greatest asset in business is time. Like, if you can free up your time, you are then able to think creatively and also think about the logistics of the business, right? So, for me, I was spending all of my time doing this, right? Responding to emails, booking calls in, like, I was like, I don't even have the time to like think about how I'm going to grow this, because all of my time is sucked up getting people in, right? So I think look at what is taking up the most of your time, which 9 times out of 10 is either content or admin, right? And then look at getting somebody to help you with those things. Your team is not a vanity metric. Like, don't think, oh my God, like the bigger my team, the more successful the business. Once you start hiring, especially under PAYE, like you've got so many costs involved, right? Like, don't think about, oh, I want a team of 10 just for the sake of having a team of 10 or 20 or 30. Like, actually think what is going to move the needle forwards in the business. If it is simply just, I need an extra 10 hours a week back, get somebody to help you with admin for 10 hours a week. If it's, I just can't, I'm really struggling with actually being consistent with my content, but I enjoy creating it, get somebody to just do the posting. Like, you have to think about like, where are the gaps and what can I do to fill them? And then as you grow, you will start to be able to see that clearer. So like, you might have like a admin assistant, and then you might have a content creator, right? And then on top of that, you might need like a client success manager. But at the moment, you're doing that job. So you'll start to see, okay, hang on, I've got the person booking in the calls and she's doing an amazing job, or he's doing an amazing job. And then I've got the person doing the content, which is doing what it needs to do. I'm getting more clients in, but I haven't got anybody like working on the retention rate and the churn and all of these things. I need someone there. Like, it will start to become really apparent where the gaps are. But too many people are like, oh, I need this hire and this hire and this hire and this hire. And I look at like normally they send me over like a projection for like next year of like what they're going to bring in, and I'm like, why are you hiring like 6 members of staff? Like, why are you doing that? That's craziness. So yeah, I would say just start with where your gaps are and fill them accordingly.
Love that. Love that. Especially the churn and retention sort of person. So important. You know, obviously you spend so much money and time getting a customer, but keeping them is the most important thing. Okay, so really it's just looking at mapping out where your pain points are. You know, you're working, if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of hours. How can you get some of those hours back? I love that. I love that. And when you first started doing that, you know, how was your mentality on control? Are you someone that still likes to have control, or, you know, are you okay letting go?
When I first brought on my first team member, and she'll say this, I was a control freak. Like, I was like, I did not want her to do anything. And it was actually my mum. It was almost as if like I wanted her to see that I knew what I was doing. She knew that. She didn't need me to prove myself, right? But it was my mum who was like, Georgia, you have got to relinquish control. You are paying this person to sit around and watch you work. Like, no, she's there for a reason. It's Emily, my assistant, and she's amazing. But I was a control freak. Now that I've got another 2 team members, I'm so much more relaxed, and also I understand that like zones of genius, right? There are things that they will not know how to do, and they will come to you and they will ask you, but allow them to sit in their zone of genius. Do not stifle them. Like with Jess, who's our head of social, she is so creative. She thinks outside of the box. She's brilliant. And even when she first came on, I was giving her content strategy, and it was my husband who was like, you brought on a head of social, why the hell are you still giving her a content strategy? Allow her to do what she's good at, right? But I think it's so hard. And I listened to a podcast this morning actually, which was talking about the paradoxes of leadership. It was talking about like how like you have to be patient, but you've got to kind of drive a sense of urgency. You've got to be compassionate, but you've also got to know when to crack the whip. You've got to give them that creative freedom, but you also need to know when to be like, we're going left instead of right, and that's the way it's going to be, right? And leadership is hard, and I'd never sit here and be like, I've got it all figured out, because I feel like it's a constant learning cycle of, you just don't know until the situation's put in front of you how to deal with it. But my leadership style is very much giving the girls the space to do what they need to do, but also them knowing that at the end of the day, if I don't think that the avenue that they're going down is correct, I am going to say something. I'm not just going to allow you to be on a wild goose chase, you know? And sometimes with leaders, they give too much control to the staff. They allow the train to leave the station. It gets derailed. And because the staff members are so used to like being able to just do their own thing, it's too late. It's too late to catch it, right? So it's that balancing act, and leadership it feels like contradiction a lot of the time. Like you want to be compassionate, but then you need to be able to be like, no, and you want that sense of urgency, but you also have to be patient. It's like that constant kind of internal battle.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, isn't it? As a founder, you know, all these big tech companies, really, they've written the books, and it's all about culture, right? Especially from sort of that American side, and you know, the turf in the office, the bring the dog in, and it's all open plan, and all these different things that we've seen from these tech companies that make huge amounts of money, and it doesn't really matter in any way necessarily some of these things, and I think I've been also caught in that trap of like, culture really is just how you as a leader are showing up, how you are then obviously with the team, and also how you're hiring people. I remember a good friend of mine who was my roommate actually when I used to play football, went on to work for Apple. And I said to him, man, like Apple customer service, it's like incredible. Like I go in there and I'm like really pissed off, and I end up coming out and I've bought, £1,000 phone or something. I'm like, how's that happen? And, he used to always say to me, it's because in the process of hiring, they just say, we don't hire arseholes, and it's just like people that are nice, people that are caring, that nature. But I think it also comes, like you said, from that leadership down, which is so, so important. I guess one more thing on just content and creating leads, which is obviously one of the most important things, is what we sometimes find is a lot of the coaches saying, well, I'm putting out content, I'm getting some views, but I'm not actually getting them to take action or anything like that. And they may have a link in their bio and they're just hoping. Do you find that a lot? Is there any advice you can give for actually having some sort of call to action?
Do you know what? I think because we are in a very saturated market, there are so many coaches, right? I think it's a combination of things. So it's like a cake. And I personally think that you can't rely on social media alone. So you can't just be showing up online in one space and expect people to trust you instantaneously, right? So for me, it's a mixture of online and offline marketing. So what's really important and I prioritize is guest speaking. Try and get your guest speaking gigs. Try and get in front of rooms. Try and get that content of you delivering to a room full of people, because immediately you post that online alongside your education. You've got, hang on, this girl knows what she's talking about, but also she's trusted in front of a room full of people. That's when you're going to start to get conversions. If you're just showing up being like, I know what I'm talking about, trust me, it's falling upon deaf ears because you haven't got the proof. It's also like if you've got people, some coaches don't share their client wins, or biggest pet peeve of mine, client X. Who the heck is client X? Like that could have been completely made up. Ask your clients and say to them, look, this really helps my business. It helps me help more people. Would you be willing to share what I've achieved with you? Like, we can blur your face or we can change your voice, whatever, but would you be willing to share it? 9 times out of 10, people will be like, yeah, of course, like you've helped me make more money, or you've helped me gain clarity, you've helped me gain confidence. Of course I'll share it. But just putting up on a Canva graphic, client X went from B to C, is not going to convert, right? Humans, like people need to see that you're trusted by others. Well, we are sheep, right? Humans are sheep. They will follow where the crowd goes. So a lot of people who come to me and say, oh, Georgia, like I'm putting out all this content and it's not getting conversions. Normally there's a leak in the system where it's like, okay, yeah, you are putting out content, but it's just you. I can't see the people that you're working with. I can't see that anybody trusts you. I don't see you outside of your bubble. I'm just seeing you in your office. You're not thinking creatively. You're also not thinking strategically. These are the things that you need to put in place. So I think guest speaking is a huge one. I do a lot of speaking at universities, and whilst that doesn't directly bring me in, so the people I'm speaking in front of, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to pay thousands of pounds for coaching. What it does do though is when you're sat in front of master students, or you're stood in front of master students in a lecture hall giving a talk on how I don't know, I've got one coming up about how the beauty industry has shifted and evolved and what that means for the next 10 years, and it's for business master students. I put that online. People are like, they're students that are learning, master students that are learning, and she's being brought in to guest lecture. It doesn't necessarily have to directly correlate, but you do need to be thinking like, what rooms can I get in, and what information do I have to share that is going to build me credibility? And also don't chase the money. So one thing is that I'll get clients coming to me being like, oh, I'd never speak for free. Oh, I'd never go on a podcast for free. Well, you are very silly, my friend. You are very, very silly, because when you do things like that, you may not directly get the money from the opportunity, but it will bring you credibility. And I can guarantee you, give it 2 months, those people will convert. So yeah, it's a cake, and you've got to have all the ingredients. You can't just have one.
Love it. Okay, unless it's like some flat vegan, some sort of cake. So quick, quick rapid fire questions
Okay.
before. I'm sure I'm conscious of your time as well. But so, best piece of advice for a new online coach, just like one-liners.
Best piece of advice for start small. Start small. Start small. Gain your credibility. Gain your proof of concept. Get your results. You can't immediately go to charging thousands and thousands of pounds. You have to start small. I started at £20 an hour. £20 an hour, and I gained my results and my credibility, and now I'm able to charge big bucks for people to learn from me, right? So start small and grow. Don't be greedy. Don't look at what other people are doing. Like, think, how can I build this sustainably where I've got a strong foundation underneath me? And also focus on your retention. If you've got a client on a retainer for 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months they're not looking at extending, you've got to ask yourself why.
Yeah, love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What tool could you not live without? What tech, tool, platform, person, could you not live without?
I would say Emily, my admin assistant. She's amazing. I said to you, Ben, on a separate call, I am organized chaos. That's how I live my life. Like, I'm a creative, I'm a dancer. Like, that is all I've ever known. So that's naturally come into the way that I run my business. However, when you're scaling and you've got multiple things happening at once, like multiple staff members, you need that structure. So I would honestly say it's a person, and it's Emily. She's brilliant. And if you're going to invest in anything and you're at this stage of hiring, invest in a good EA, like somebody who knows what they're doing, who can like just overhaul your diary and your life, basically.
Love it. Love it. Plug for Click Concierge, which we just launched, which is 15 hours a week with a virtual assistant to manage your app, to manage your business. Just going to plug that in. Okay. So the biggest myth in coaching online.
That you need to guarantee someone a return on investment to get the client. You can't guarantee anybody anything, and that is a hill I am willing to die on. Like, PTs, you train someone day in, day out, right? And every single time they leave you, they're straight to the McDonald's drive-through getting a Big Mac. They're not going to get the results, and that's not because of you, right? You can't sit on a call with someone and say, I can guarantee you a 3x return on investment. That is the dumbest thing that you can say. What you say is, I can give you the tools to do whatever it is that you said that they could do, right? It is a collaborative effort, and the onus is on you, right? You need to show up, you need to do the work, you need to do the homework, but I'm here to support you. I think people go into discovery calls and they're like, I can guarantee you this, this, and this. And immediately, if someone's been in business long enough, that will ring alarm bells. They'll go, well, you can't guarantee anybody anything, like whether it's a product or a service. So never ever say that. And I think that's the biggest myth.
Okay, last one is, what one book, one podcast or resource has shaped your journey?
Podcast. Rob Dial, the mindset mentor, obsessed with him. I think he's brilliant. I listen to him every single morning without fail. He covers everything from like how to overcome anxiety, how to overcome decision paralysis, like, but also just like hold you accountable for, if you say you're going to do something, do it. He's absolutely fantastic. I put all my girls onto him, like listen to him on the way into work. It will set you up for the day. Book wise, Atomic Habits, bit cliche, but also very good book. I think if you're not into reading, like I'm more like I like to listen. If you're not into reading, it's a good one to just get you started on that journey. But Rob Dial, mindset mentor, I scream, rave about it. It's brilliant. Really has helped me to not just become a better leader, but I would say become a better person as well. So
yeah, awesome. Well, Georgia, where can everyone find you? Let's have a little plug of channels or website, or what's the best way?
Yeah, they can find me at Georgia Jasmine Consultancy. Jasmine, no E. Everybody gets that wrong. Blame my husband. And same on website, georgiajasmineconsultancy.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been super interesting, helpful. I've learned loads. I'm going to be actually taking some of this on. But thank you again, and have a great 2026.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me, Ben.